guys, Killian here with Podium 1 Racing. Today we're going to be going through an overview of SimHub. SimHub is quite an intricate software. Now, if I were to explain everything that goes in the SimHub, we could be here for multiple chapters and multiple years to come. But what we're going to be doing today is going through the basics of SimHub and downloading it, how to download it, and kind of setting up this GSI wheel, for example, for the first time. So as soon as you download SimHub, you're actually going to go over to simhub-.com, which is this tab right over here. As soon as you log into this site here, you can go to the Downloads tab. This is all of the recent changes of SimHub. You can see all of the timestamps and the dates that they have listed here. That goes all the way dated back to the very, very beginning of just a couple years ago. You're going to want to make sure that you download the latest version, which is download SimHub version 9.11.1. So once you download that, it's going to take you to a zip folder. This zip folder, you're going to want to extract all of this. So once you extract, you can do so. It'll take you to this folder straight down here, SimHub, and then you can double click SimHub 9.11.1. Once you download SimHub, you'll be greeted with Welcome to SimHub. So let's take a few seconds to configure some vital parameters. Now you have speed units, temperature units, pressure units, fuel units, and all of your different types of rating of units that you would basically have outputted to a display or whatever type of wheel that you have. This is going to be based on imperial or metric values. So if you are overseas, maybe you're in Europe, you want to leave this probably for yourself, but if you're here in North America, you kind of want to change the speed unit to miles per hour. Fahrenheit, PSI is correct. Now we use liters or gallons. I mean, if you're racing, that's probably a preference. And then your theme colors you can also configure as well. One important thing that you're going to want to do is enable start with Windows, so that every time you boot up this PC or your sim at home, this will start up with Windows. So once you do that, press OK. Now you can see all of the different type of games within SimHub here. Over the years, they have added quite a few titles to their library. As you can see, there are a few hundred here of Sims, which is absolutely insane. So once you press OK here, and here we are greeted with the home page. The home page, on the left-hand side, you see all of the different types of settings that you can go through. Now you have home, car settings, motion, devices, statistics, dash studio, Arduino, shake it wind, base shakers, controls and events, and available properties. Now there's two different iterations of SimHub. If you're going to be utilizing SimHub quite a bit and you want to unlock the full potential of SimHub, you can get the licensed version. I personally have the licensed version at home. It's definitely worth the few dollars that it costs to get the licensed version. It unlocks 60 hertz screens. It unlocks better motion, experimental features that you can try with a lot of your different wheels and dashes and base shakers. And there's just a lot more experimental things that you can try with SimHub. Now we can do that, as it says right here. You can no starting, minimize, no lagging screens, etc. You would basically just click the licensed version and then go over here. And then it's going to ask you what you want to pay. There's no set price for SimHub. You can choose all the way up to 30 euros, all the way down to 8 euros. This basically just is a donation that keeps SimHub alive. You don't have to pay the maximum amount. If you wanted to pay 8 euros, that's the minimum, you can go ahead and unlock that license. All right. So once you complete this form, you head back over to SimHub, and we're going to get into the real basic settings here. So if you have a GSI wheel, for example, this is a good example to get through. We are going to go through how to set up a GSI wheel for the first time. Now right here, this is a GSI Max wheel. Very large, round, lots of buttons, LEDs. As you can see, there's also a display on this wheel as well. Here on the back, you're going to want to plug this straight into the back of the wheel, and then this connects via USB. Now, what I would highly recommend is, because GSI wheels are very power hungry, you'd want to use a USB powered hub. If you try to connect this directly into the PC, more than likely you're going to have cutout issues or drops in frame rate and disconnection issues. A lot of people think, just for example, that there's something wrong with their wheel, when in reality, it's just because it's not getting enough power. So that being said, we will, first thing that you do, if you're downloading a GSI wheel, you go over to Gomez Sim Industry. They have typically right over here in, I believe it might be customized. Nope, it should be in support. Now they have a bunch of downloads here, for example. There is, let's see, should be a download page here for all of the, let's see here, let's find the, now this is the GT Max 32. So if you go to this landing page here, just scroll down a bit, you can see documents and downloads. Now, this is what you're going to want to download here. This is the setup guide. Now we can kind of go through this very briefly together. This is an overview on basically the entire wheel. A lot of companies will graciously do this for you. Basically tell you all of the intricacies, the ins and outs of a specific wheel, which is actually really nice. So if you want to spend some time going through and understanding what your wheel does, like the GSI does, they provide a lot of really useful information that you can essentially customize all of the different types of inputs and make it your own. So I would download this just to keep off to the side. There is a SimHub Dash, that which you will download. SimHub Dash, there it is. And then there is also a SimHub Dash configuration overlay as well. There's also the Sim iOS operating system application as well. So there are two different types. Let's see. So we're going to do the operating system. The operating system is the plugin for SimHub. So go ahead and save that. All right. So it looks like we have a total of 3 things downloaded to SimHub. Now there's 2 different ways to configure a GSI wheel. You can configure it through their own operating system, or you can configure it through SimHub, which typically there's a little bit more versatility and features. Now we're going to download the operating system just because it is good to have the original OS. So as this is downloading, it's also going to create a shortcut over here on the desktop as well. And as that's going, we're going to go to devices on the left-hand side. This is how we add a GSI device. Over here to the left, you see all of the different Sim brands. That's a DFU driver. We don't need that at the moment. You see all of the different supported devices and brands that you can utilize through SimHub. So here on the left, this is all the brands, and we can find GSI, Gomez Sim Industries, and here is all of their models. Now, the wheel model that we have is the GSI GT Max 32. We're going to go ahead and click it and press OK. Now, here is the GSI GT Max 32. Once we configure this device and we can connect it correctly, it'll then populate as a recognized device. Now, here is the LCD screen. This is where you can connect and select different types of dashes here. And with our downloads that we just did, we also have a couple of Gen 2 dashes, so we can import that. So you can see the little icon right here. There's a SimHub icon. If you double click that, it'll pop up and populate, and then you can import this directly into your SimHub library. Same thing with the configuration overlay. So there's two different types. Oops, and then we can X this out. Now, if you go to the main dashboards, you should be able to see, yep, your two dashes that you can configure. So GSI GT Max 32, that's going to populate on your display, and it's going to have all of your relevant information. It's going to have your gear shifters, it's going to have tire temperatures, it's going to have rev lights, everything of that nature, relevant car information that's going to communicate effectively of what the car is essentially doing. Once you get the LCD screen configured, you can also go over to the screen settings of that screen and change the refresh rate. Once you unlock, like I was saying earlier, the full version of SimHub, you can then unlock this wheel's full potential at 60 hertz. Right now it's locked at 30, so then you could use the drop-down menu, select 60, and you have a much crisper, cleaner, faster response rate with this screen itself. LEDs. So there are different profiles that you can select here as well. Now there's a lot of companies out there that select different types of LEDs. My personal favorite is Daniel Newman Racing. I have them on all of my wheels, and I would highly recommend you guys go to check Daniel Newman Racing out because it takes all of the guesswork out of it. You could go and source a lot of these through community, and there's a lot of people that do these on the side, but if you want to take all the guesswork out of it, have a ton of different types of LEDs with different configurations and team colors, all of that cool stuff, go check out Daniel Newman Racing for the button slidings, the telemetry, and individual LEDs as well. You can configure all of that through here. And then you also have, these are hotkeys for the display, so you can select next dash template, previous dash template. All of these can be configured with a hotkey. Your brightness, your secondary split screen, global brightness, telemetry, LEDs, buttons, lighting, all of that can then be configured through the hotkeys here. That's essentially it. That is how you set up your GSI wheel. That is exactly how you do it. Now, we're just going to go down the list here and kind of just go through some of the real basics. Now, we're not going to get too intricate today. We'll go through more of the intricacies more as we go along, but let's go through some of the real basic ones. So, like we were saying earlier, this is where you can select different devices. Now, if we click this plus icon here, we can select Add New Device. And we can see that we can connect generic monitors, secondary screens. There is even like Nitro Concepts here. They have an emergent LED box. There's Precision Sim Engineerings. They have different dashes that you can configure. We also have SimMagic, for example. We have SimCore. SimCore has a ton of LEDs and dashes that you can also connect, as well as SRH, which is also a really cool company that has dashes and LEDs. And then one of my personal favorites that I just got done doing is Solpec as well. So a lot of these companies are now turning to SimHub because it is an all-in-one station where you can control all of your devices connected to your simulator. That also includes not only just your dashes and your wheels, but it also includes motion now. That's also a new feature like Vero Motion, for example. We're going to be talking to them in the next couple of weeks and getting an overview on how they set up those specific devices. A real basic profile will also be coming out for you guys to check out, so you guys have the basic fundamentals and understanding on how motion should be articulated through a GT car, F1 prototype. All of that should be educated in that sense. In the Dash Studio, this is where you can basically configure and customize dashes here. This is an Arduino board, so this is a whole college level notebook to understand how Arduinos work. Now, you can configure just about any, if you can think it, it can be possible. Like we could do, if I got a strip of LED lights, for example, and I had the Bluetooth capability, I could create ambient lighting within my rig, which I have done with the Philips Hue lights. Now, you don't necessarily have to do that through an Arduino board, but you can also do that through a few of these other, let's see here. Yeah, it would be through the Arduino board actually, and then you select the Philips Hue lighting, but this is a whole nother segment that we can also get into later on down the road, where you can configure even further different custom devices that you have, like flight sim, there's flight RPMs, gauges, all of these intricacies can be done through the Arduino boards here. There is also Shake It Wind, which we have a few on our simulators here and our turnkeys. You guys will be able to configure and mess with a lot of the intricacies of how to increase and decrease the wind power when in your race, left and right wind curving, there's maximum vehicle speed, there's tons of drafting effects, cockpit mode, forced wind. You can have them on like an AC vent. So you could actually configure these as if they were, instead of it simulating wind, it can simulate actual air conditioning inside of the vehicle. So you could have setting 1 on low, setting 2 on medium to high, setting 3 on high, and setting 4 on max. And you can shortcut all of those within the car on a button box to where you press each of these and you essentially have your own air conditioning unit inside of your sim, which is actually really cool. We also have base shakers, which is my personal favorite. Well, if you don't have base shakers yet, I would highly recommend that you start getting these. If you don't have the funds for motion, for example, this is one way to really bring your rig to life at a cost-effective way. Now, Sense It, haptics, we also have those here, plug and play here at the facility at Podium One Racing. And you can configure Shake It base shakers through here and their own proprietary software. And there is a lot of base shakers like transducers that you can add to your rig. Here you can configure all of the different outputs. Now, once you plug them in properly, you get an amp, you get the speaker wire, you run everything to the PC. You can then come over here to configure those outputs. Those outputs will populate in this window here, and then you map this location to the specific base shaker or transducer that you're trying to have communicate to the device. Once you get into the intricacies of the actual base shaker, then you can select different types of effects. Those different type of effects would be rumble strips, it would be ABS, it could be gear shifting, gear grinding, it could be all of these different things like engine rumble, or if you get hit from the left side or the right side, you could feel that on the right side of your rig or the left side of your rig, so on and so forth. If basically what base shakers do, it effectively communicates through vibrations in transducers what the car is doing, what the track is doing, giving you sensations throughout the body to effectively communicate relevant information to make you either a sharper driver or even a more immersive driver. I think they go hand in hand though. So you also have Shake It motors. Shake It motors could be, and on the pedals, you can actually add little base shakers. Now there's small transducers, there's larger transducers, and these are the little motors and transducers that you could essentially put on there and have ABS kickback, traction control, vibrating. I found these to be extremely useful combined with the base shakers and little transducers on the pedals, because if I am coming into a corner, for example, and if I am braking a little bit too hard, I can then feel that on my left foot and I can ease up just a little bit so that vibration goes away. Same thing goes when I'm pulling out of a corner. If I'm on the gas or the throttle a little bit too much, I can feel a little bit of vibration as my tires are slipping out from underneath me. So I don't want that happening, so I can let off a little bit, correct, and then continue forward. So all of this is extremely useful information that when you get into the intricacies of base shakers, wind, all of this cool stuff like motion, you can then fine tune it to make it your own. You have controls and events here. Now, personally, I don't really use the controls and events. You won't really have to use this tab. You have available properties, which is just going to be game specific. Don't really mess with this either, to be honest. And then you can also add and remove features down here. So this is going to be all of the other brands. There's, like the belt tensioner, for example. You can enable that once you have The cubic, for example. You could also have custom belt tensioners made that you can also put in here as well, which is actually really, really awesome. I believe that is going to conclude the basic overview of SimHub. Now, as we go along a little bit further with SimHub, like Vero Motion, for example, to be coming in the next couple of weeks, we'll be getting into the intricacies of setting up motion, different styles of wheels, dashes. As we grow and have a little bit more offerings with our turnkeys, we'll also do more basic tutorials with all of these walkthroughs as well. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this basic walkthrough of SimHub today, and that'll be it. Thanks, guys.